America's rising. We have the best economy in the world. And since I've come to office, our GDP is up, our trade deficit with China is down to the lowest point in over a decade.
President Biden ditched his magic whiteboard to talk about the economy at the State of the Union this week. And if you listen carefully, it sounded like everything was just peaches and cream. And yet, despite what he would whisper at the top of his lungs, Americans don't feel that Bidenomics is quite working. So how do we separate fact from fiction? Let's ask global business consultant Hillary Fordwich, along with the Vice President of Government Affairs at Americans for Prosperity, Akash Kogali. Welcome to you both. Thank you so much. Among the claims the president made during his speech at the State of the Union was about the unemployment rate. Listen to this.
Unemployment at 50-year lows. A record 16 million Americans are starting small businesses, and each one is a literal act of hope.
Did he, and government doesn't create jobs, because that's kind of nonsense, but did he create all those jobs, or were those people largely getting back into the workforce after COVID?
Yeah, those are largely jobs that were recovered, jobs that were lost because of government-imposed shutdowns, and then jobs recovered. But the fact of the matter is that Americans are poorer today than they were when President Biden took office. So having a job is fantastic, but if that job is not keeping up with the rising costs of living, it's not doing much good for you. And the average American family today is spending $11,400 more to afford the same quality of life per year that they had before President Biden took office. He simply does not want to acknowledge that reality. And so we're telling the truth about it at Bidenomics.com.
Hillary, then there comes this oldie but goodie, and inflation. Listen to this.
Wages keep going up, inflation keeps coming down. Inflation has dropped from 9% to 3%, the lowest in the world, and tending lower. The landing is and will be soft. And now, instead of importing foreign products and exporting American jobs, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs right here in America, where they belong.
Hillary, inflation is lower, but there's a cumulative impact and costs of all of this. People are paying, I think, about 30 to 50% premium over what they were during the Trump years on certain products. What are the facts here?
Yeah, a few things here. Number of facts, actually, Tom. What happens very quietly, last month, the jobs report from the Department of Labor Statistics was actually revised down by 124,000 jobs. Of course, that was very quiet. They don't make that big announcement whenever it's revised downwards. So to me, who can we believe, and what do these statistics really tell us if you really can't believe them? They've also revised the definition of recession because they don't want to admit this year that we're in a recessionary environment at the moment. And another thing in terms of economically, with regards to jobs, one of the things he said and I wouldn't call it the State of the Union address at all, I would call it a campaign speech at the beginning of his campaign. But one of the things he stated was that he wants to raise corporate taxes to a 21% here in the United States.
Yep.
The more you tax anything, the less of it you get. So what are corporations going to do? Do you know there are 950 American corporations based in Ireland? Why on earth would American companies based in Ireland? Because the corporate tax there was 12.5%. It's going up to 15% there. So if he raises those taxes, he's going to drive away corporations and drive away more American jobs.
Akash, let's continue that conversation. The president did take a shot at taxes, and he pulled out another one of his favorite lines. Listen to this.
The way to make the tax code fair is to make big corporations, the very wealthy, begin to pay their fair share. Remember, in 2020, 55 of the biggest companies in America made $40 billion and paid zero in federal income tax. Zero. Not anymore. Thanks to the law I wrote and we signed, big companies have to pay a minimum of 15%.
Akash, he's used this 40 billion figure before, and he neglects to tell people that if you took all of that money, it wouldn't even pay for a tenth of all of the spending that he's proposed. Your response to raising the corporate taxes and this fair share rhetoric, And then also just touch on what you're doing with Bidenomics.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Hillary made an important point here, which is that corporations respond to incentives. If we raise the corporate tax rate, they are going to respond by less investment and less job creation here in the United States. This point about fair share is complete nonsense. The wealthy and corporations, actually, if you look at the data, pay more than what you would think is their fair share based on their share of income. They pay a greater share of the tax revenue that this country receives than they receive as a share of the income that this country generates. And so the fair share stuff is complete nonsense. It's meant to gin up his progressive left-wing base who's just not excited about his presidential campaign. These are just the kind of facts that we're dispelling at Bidenomics.com. Yes, literally the word Bidenomics.com was not purchased by this White House, was not purchased by the DNC or the Biden campaign. You have a White House full of millennial and Gen Z TikTokers who live online, but they forgot this basic digital 101 step. And so Americans for Prosperity took advantage of it. We purchased Bidenomics.com, and you can see a real-time rhetoric versus reality fact check on exactly these kind of claims that the president has been making and see what the reality is. The American people don't need to be told that Bidenomics is broken. What we're doing at Bidenomics.com is telling them why and what the facts are about how his policies have created these problems for them.
I've scrolled through the website, and it really is terrific, and it's very easy to follow. It's what's the facts versus the fiction. So check it out, Bidenomics.com. Hillary Fordwich and Akash Kogali from Americans for Prosperity, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Bye, Cash. Bye.